Hi, hello, good evening, my officers. Welcome to this free special YouTube live series on Unacademy UPSC Articulate YouTube channel. So today, in this particular current affairs series, we have an exclusive topic of discussion, which is indeed the most important topic that is seen in all the news out there. So this is a topic from the area international relations, and the topic is Russia and Ukraine conflict. So now, in this particular session, we'll be having a clear-cut look into the various perspectives of the conflict that is happening between these two countries, that is Russia and Ukraine, and what are the reasons behind it. And let's have a great look into the background of this particular topic as a whole. So yes, good evening, Devadashini. Yes, Danya, Tejas, Team Enamo. Good evening to all of you. Yes, Rishabh, how are you all? So as you all know, this is Nisha Nujumudeen, your educated Unacademy, an expert in Indian economy, current affairs and MCQs. So here we are with an exclusive special live series on the topic Russia and Ukraine conflict in Unacademy UPSC Articulate YouTube channel. So yes, before beginning the session, guys, a quick look into my profile as well. You can just go through. I am one of the Unacademy's top plus educator, handling a lot of free classes and plus classes, that is paid classes, with regard to economy, current affairs and MCQs. You can just go through the details. And to be a part of the Unacademy free special live class and also the plus or the paid courses, you can use the code Nisha IAS Live. I repeat, Nisha IAS Live. So all the details pertaining to that particular plus course and free class courses is given in the upcoming slides. You can just go through the same as well. Take care. Perfect. So now, as far as this particular topic is concerned, so we'll be discussing from the UPSC CSE perspective as to why are we studying the so-called conflicts between Russia and Ukraine. And now, when you study about a conflict, this is not a conflict that has arisen, or let's say that has come up over the past month, or let's say 2 to 3 days. It has been there for so many years. And right now, this particular issue or the conflict between these two countries is posing a question to so many people out there, or let's say the other nations out there, whether the world is preparing for another World War III. To that extent, the conflict or the issues between Russia and Ukraine is popping up. So now, taking into consideration this big scenario or issue, what is the stake of other countries on this issue, and what is the stand of the Russia as well when the interference of other countries come up. And most importantly, India being a close associate, or let's say having a very good cordial relationship with the country Russia, what is the stand of India and how diplomatically a country India is able to put forward our opinions, or let's say put forward a viewpoint with regard to this particular conflict, and whose side is India taking? Is India taking the side of Russia or Ukraine? All these things will be discussed in today's class. So from the prelims perspective, and most importantly from the UPSC CSE mains examination perspective and interview perspective, this particular topic will be discussed in a short, sweet and to the point manner. So a complete 360-degree coverage of this particular topic will be done, my young officers. Clear? This is what we'll be doing in today's class. That is our version of analyzing, or let's say doing a clear-cut understanding of the so-called issues between Russia and Ukraine. So for knowing the current updates, it's always important for us to have a quick look into the background of this particular topic as well. Don't you think so? Yes, indeed, very, very important. So taking into consideration, the issues, a quick look into the background of this particular topic and issue will also be discussed. So then you'll be able to have a clear-cut understanding of what to study and what not to study pertaining to this particular topic. Take care. Yes, Soham, good afternoon. So yes, already you should be indeed. And this is my Telegram channel, guys, the official one. You can just follow me here, Nisha Nujumudeen for UPSC. And now, before starting the class, here is an amazing quote of the day for you people. What is that? Opportunity doesn't make appointments. You have to be ready when it arrives. That's very, very true, guys. Being a UPSC CSE aspirant, I always, prefer to tell my students that whenever opportunity comes, or let's say whenever opportunity is knocking the door, make sure that you're grabbing it with your fullest potential, not even having a second thought or a next thought out there, because we never know when the next opportunity will come. So let's make the fullest of it. So now, as a UPSC CSE aspirant, you also should understand the importance of it. Yes, Soham and Ashutosh, good evening. Perfect. So here we go. So before that, guys, you can just go through the subscriptions as well. That is today being 25th February. You have so many, discounts happening in Unacademy. around 10,000 and 5,000 discounts on all the iconic, that is premium and normal plus or paid subscription is happening for the GS plus optional together. You can just have a look into it. Apart from that extra 20% discount you will get using the code Nisha IAS Live. All the serious aspirants who really want to be a part of the Unacademy Plus or paid program, do use this opportunity. Use the code Nisha IAS Live and make sure that you are getting the fullest benefit out of it. Clear? And now there is something called as Unacademy Lite for the prelims and CSAT, guys. It's a test series. It's a new product launched by Unacademy to help all the students who are weak in their prelims and CSAT perspective. So now till 28th February, there is an offer going on. That is, you need to pay only 3,000 rupees for taking 28 tests. And if you are a part of this subscriptions, iconic or that is the GS plus combo subscription, then automatically this so-called UA Lite will come under that. If you're not going for subscription, then only for the test series means then this is the offer out there. Clear? For 6 months and 1 year, it goes like that. And along with extra 10% discount from the so-called amount. Clear? Yes, Azim, good evening. Now, it's time for us to quickly have a look into the topic of discussion. Don't you think so, my young officers? Yes, are you all ready to study everyday stories from around the world? You should be, because these kind of topics are the hit list topics, which is having a lot of impact on the every single world economy out there. This is a topic which also talks about the global peace, the global unity, and how are the other countries also going to have a look into the so-called conflicts between two countries, that is Russia and Ukraine. Hannah? Yes? Come on, that's a great go for all of you. So now, guys, another announcement is that every day early morning 6 a.m. Monday to Saturday, you have a current topics in news series out there. Okay? So when the clock strikes 6 a.m., come for the current topics in news classes, wherein different topics of different subjects will be covered in just a short, sweet and simple manner. So since Jan 10th, we have been doing this early morning 6 a.m. class. These are the various topics that has been covered. You can just go through. I've just put it over here, so that you will be having a clear understanding of the, various topics out there. Now, here we go, the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So now, let's quickly have a look into why are we actually studying this particular topic. Don't you think so? This is very, very important. Yes, we know that Russia and Ukraine is having this issue for a very, very long time. But why suddenly now? From 2021 December onwards, you can see that continuous updates is happening. And now recently, for the past 1 week, we can see that a load of issues with regard to the threat of people who are put up there, with regard to Russia, with regard to Ukraine. Oh my goodness, multiple things are put out there. So let's quickly have a look into what exactly it is. So now, what is the reason why are we studying this, guys? As I told you, this particular topic is taken from the subject area IR, that is international relations, which is indeed the most interesting subject of UPSC, guys. One of the interesting subjects, I should say, apart from economy. So now the reason, or let's say the context, why are we studying this particular topic is, we know that there has been so many tensions on the border of Ukraine, that too with Russia. And now they are at their highest in years, no doubt in that. Now, Ukraine is afraid whether Russia will invade them completely, just like what happened in Afghanistan and Taliban. We know that finally Taliban captured Afghanistan. Today we have an Afghanistan that is captured by Taliban. So similarly, Russia and Ukraine is also having so much of tensions, and now there is a fear of potential invasion by whom? By Russia. That is what is kind of threatening the Ukraine people out there. So now, because of this fear of the potential invasion, which has been planned by Russia, the US and NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, guys, they are stepping up support for whom? For Ukraine. So now comes US. Your US is a great part, no doubt in that. So now, if US and NATO is stepping out for support for Ukraine, now what happened? Russia will become more and more, aggressive, wherein it can lead to a war between the different countries of the world. The situation will turn up like that. And now India being a good friend of Russia and also a good friend of US again, the clashes will start happening. So every other countries will get affected one or the other way like this. Clear? So now, because of the invasion fear by Russia, Ukraine is getting support from, let's say the NATO and US is planning a support for Ukraine. So now in this particular session, we shall discuss what are the various reasons for such kind of tensions, or let's say the issues between the two countries like Russia and Ukraine, and what are the latest developments with regard to this. That is the exclusive live updates till today pertaining to this particular topic. See, tomorrow, let's say even today night, after this live session is done, you can get another update also. But till today, that is till 4 p.m., what are the updates? I'll be sharing it with you. Clear? For your better understanding and to make sure that your preparation is on the right track. Take care. along with a clear-cut background understanding of this particular topic as well. Clear? Is it very clear to all of you? Why are we studying this? Yes, PK, good evening. Yes? Okay. So here we go. Let's quickly have a look into the background of this particular topic, because that is quite important for you to have a clear-cut understanding of what exactly the conflict is all about. What are the reasons behind that? Okay. So now if you see the reason, or let's say the background understanding of the conflict or the issues between Russia and Ukraine is post the disintegration of the so-called Soviet Union as Russia. We all know that Ukraine was under them, but then they gained independence in the year 1991. And now Ukraine was also a member of what the so-called Soviet Union. And that too, it was only a member until 1991 till they got independence. And now when when the Soviet Union, when post the disintegration, what happened? They became independent. And now Russia always tried to maintain what? The country in its orbit since then. Russia makes sure that Ukraine is kind of under their control, let's say, under their point of view, let's say, under their perspective. Russia has always tried. It's not like Russia maintained Ukraine like that, but then even Ukraine gained independence since the year 1991 also. Russia is always trying to have an upper hand, or let's say they try to show out, okay, they are, having a clear, or let's say close watch over what Ukraine is doing. And as the years passed by, what happened? In the year 2014, suddenly a separatist insurgency started. And that too, this so-called separatist insurgency, it popped up, or let's say it started in Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland called as Donetsk Basin. I repeat, Donetsk Basin. And that is also called as the so-called, Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland. Clear? So now in the year 2014 only, suddenly this popped up again. And you can see that time what happened was like Russia again gained a maritime advantage in the so-called region of what? Of Ukraine. Why? Because of its invasion and annexation of the Crimea. Because of that particular reason again, Russia had an upper hand on whom, guys? On Ukraine. You can see that Russia is here and Ukraine is here, and you can see the Crimea Peninsula. Because of the advantage they have, they again had an upper hand, I can tell you, because of the maritime advantage. And as a result of this, what happened? Both US and European Union, because of this issue, they safeguarded, or let's say they pledged to safeguard the integrity of Ukraine border. So now you can see that US and Russia is not having that good relation. Let's say a cordial relation. Because here US is gaining, or let's say granting their support, or let's say lending their support to whom? To Ukraine again. Because in the year 2014, when this happened, Russia got a maritime advantage. Beat Russia, beat UK, US. We all know that Russia is very good in the nuclear powers and other perspectives. So does US as well. So whatever that so-called stuff will be there. So now due to this particular perspective, what happened was like, as a result of this, taking into consideration the invasion by Russia, the US and European Union, they wanted to safeguard what? The integrity of the borders of Ukraine. That is the pledge that they have taken as well. And thus, if you see Russia and Ukraine, they are not into conflict, or let's say they're not into the news for the very first time. So many years. I can tell you it's not again 10 or 20 or 50 years. Rather, Ukraine and Russia, if you take a background study, we can understand that they share hundreds of years of cultural, linguistic and familial links, which means that you can never differentiate that easily between the Russians and Ukraine people, because more or less they share a similar background, even with regard to the language perspective, with regard to the cultural perspective, and also the familial links. And that is the reason why Russia want always Ukraine to be under them. That is all. That is why they always want to invade them. Okay. And if you see, for many in Russia and in the ethnically Russian parts of Ukraine, I can tell you, they even share, there is a shared heritage of the countries, which is again a very, very big emotional issue. And that is the reason it has been exploited for what? For electoral as well as military purpose. See, when two countries share a similar cultural, linguistic and other familial links and background, obviously things will explode, no doubt in that. That is what you can actually see in the context of what? In the context of Russia as a whole. Hannah, yes, Danya? Yeah, this is a true one, dear. This is a true one. And now, because of this background, the understanding, or let's say the relationship, which has been there for hundreds of years between Russia and Ukraine, I can tell you that as a part of Soviet Union. Now, Ukraine was the second most powerful Soviet republic after Russia, which means after Russia, Ukraine is emerging like that because of the familiarity that they also have with that of Russia, and that was crucial strategically, economically, and culturally as well. That is again, what do I say? It's again adding more fuel into the fire with regard to Russia's intention of capturing what Ukraine. Did you understand? And now there is a region called as the Donbas region, and this region comprises of Donetsk, which is called as what I told you. Donetsk is nothing but Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland. In the 2014, a suppressed insurgency was started there. That's called as Donetsk Basin, or let's say Donbas region. And this Donbas region consists of the Donetsk and also Luhansk Oblast of Ukraine. You can just see the map as well. Donetsk and Luhansk, which is the part of Ukraine again, but near to Russia again. Can you see that? Let me just highlight for you people. Can you see that? This particular area. Yeah. So now, when this particular region consists of the so-called Donetsk and Luhansk couplets of Ukraine, what happened? This is the sole reason. This is near to Russia again, right? So now keep that map in mind. So that is the sole reason, or let's say it has been at the center of the conflict since March 2014, because since 2014 only, see, since 1991, Ukraine became independent. But then in 2014, the so-called suppressed insurgency started up in the so-called Donbas region. And now because of this so-called reason, again, since 2014, when Russia invaded and annexed the Crimea Peninsula, issues popped up. And till today it is happening. You can see, what did Russia do? Donetsk and Luhansk is in the Ukraine perspective near to Russia. Now what did Russia do? They directly captured Crimea Peninsula, guys. Again, the issue popped up to greater extent. Clear? Yes, Rishabh, what is it? Man, India also do share ethnic, cultural and more values to Pakistan. Then why are we not capturing it? See, Rishabh, the policy of our country, India, is totally different. I expected this question from, most of you. That is why we still have the issues of, India occupied Kashmir, POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir, then with regard to Jammu and Kashmir, so many issues are going on. So we were a single country, and then in the in August 1947, because of the hugeness and all, we got divided. If you see, even Bangladesh, where they're part of India, they were a part of India before, but today they are not. You understand? So then, but India does not want to capture for the fact that we are still a developing economy. But we never know that tomorrow when we become developed, pata nahi kya hai wo hai, whether we will also go for war. But I don't think India will do that. Being one of the biggest democracies in the entire globe, I don't think that India will go for a war as such unless and until required. If that is the case, India will declare war initially with China. Let me tell you that. The Shagni out there. The first war will be declared with China only for all the Kallatarams and other stuffs done by China to us and to the entire world as a whole, because China want to become the superpower out there. You got the point. But Russia and all, see, they're always like that, where they kind of, do such kind of war strategies always. And this has been an issue that has been there for more than 100 years between Ukraine and Russia, for the fact that they share a common relationships with regard to cultural, linguistic, ethnic perspective. Okay. So now back to what I was discussing. So now, again when Russia has invaded and annexed the Crimean Peninsula, the issue between Ukraine and Russia popped up again. And if you see, in the same year 2014, in the month of April, pro-Russia rebels began seizing or capturing few territory, and those territory was with Russia supporting them through some hybrid warfare and all. That too, they did that where in the eastern part of Ukraine. And again in the year 2014, the month of May, what happened? The rebels in the area or region called as Donetsk and Luhansk regions near to Ukraine, they started holding a referendum to declare independence from Ukraine. So now what happened? Now the places called as Donetsk and Luhansk, they again want to have independence from Ukraine. You saw the picture I showed you. Now they were coming, be it Luhansk and Donetsk, they were under Ukraine, they were coming under Ukraine. But then due to the issues popped up by Russia, very strategically they planned, guys, very diplomatically. Now these Luhansk and Donetsk, they want to become independent from Ukraine. So smart, now. So now what happens? They will automatically join hands with Russia only, now. So now Russia gains more power to go against Ukraine and to capture them. That is what is happening in the year 2022. Right now, what is happening? You understand? So the background data itself is showing us these are the situation that is happening there. Clear? See, all these are giving us a clear-cut understanding. Okay, because of so and so reasons, this is popping up like anything. Okay. And now, since then, what happened? Since then, Donetsk and Luhansk regions, they want to declare independence from Ukraine. What happened is like these predominantly Russian-speaking region, that is Donetsk and Luhansk, because if you see, they do not want to be a part of Ukraine because more than 70% of the people, they speak Russia. And that too, since these predominant Russian-speaking regions within Ukraine, they have been witnessing a lot of shelling and skirmishes between the rebels and Ukraine forces, due to which they want to be independent and they don't want to be a part of Ukraine. That is again adding an advantage to whom, guys? To Russia again. You don't you think so? And now, because of the so-called reason, it also led to what? Because these Russian-speaking people who are put up in the Ukraine, because they're witnessing all this, shelling and skirmishes between all the rebels and Ukraine forces, it has led to the loss of, let's say, more than 14,000 lives by most estimates, guys, thereby creating 1.5 million registered internally displaced persons as well. And the local economy as a whole got destructed or destroyed. So this is also something which is to be considered. Don't you think so? Yes, this is the sole reason why this is happening. Is it very clear, all of you? And now, since the conflict or issue is shooting up like anything, US and NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, they are kind of stepping forward to offer the help to whom? Is it to Russia or to Ukraine? Whom, guys? Definitely to Ukraine. But if they really shed their support, let's say if they really lend their hands out to Ukraine, now our country India will be in a huge trouble, because for the fact that US and India has a very good relationship, even in the context of Quad, or let's say quadrilateral framework, because our sole intention is to go against China. But in this particular issue, US is going with who? Ukraine. And India will definitely go with Russia for the fact that we have a good relationship with them. So again, Jagada will happen in an indirect manner. So every now and then we have to be very, very careful, guys. Our country, India, has to be highly, highly diplomatic in dealing with such kind of issues. You got the point? That's the whole point. Yes, PK, what is it? With the help of Russia, it's possible to acquire the POK is possible now. See, India is not ready for a war as such to occupy the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. See, this particular POK stuff, let me tell you, there is a current affairs topic called as delimitation of J&K. I'll be doing it tomorrow morning 6 a.m. Okay. So now there I will explain to you in detail regarding the so-called POK issues and the India's and Pakistan's viewpoint with regard to the Kashmir perspective. So tomorrow I'll teach you that. Come for the 6 a.m. live class, delimitation of Jammu and Kashmir. I'll teach you there. Is it clear? Perfect. So back to what we were discussing, a quick look into the background of the so-called Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, this has been happening over the years. Now, what happened is like very recently, guys, last year, that is October 2021, again, what has changed now is that the shelling has intensified. It started getting heated up too much. And that way it happened since October 2021. When Russia began amassing troops along the borders with Ukraine, they started sending their troops and started causing destructions there. And now after 2014, in the year 2021 only, they started doing this. So now the issue got heated up to greater extent. And now if you see the situation in the Donbas escalated, and this is one of the reasons, guys, for the war as a whole, because the region of Donbas, which consists of the Luhansk and the other region, who want to be away from Ukraine, because 70% of the people over there are Russian-speaking people. So now this is another reason which has given more and more support for the war to begin. And now one way, if at all we want to prevent the war, means, come on, that is the outbreak of war, because all of us are fearing that. Though it is an issue or a conflict between Russia and Ukraine also, World War III means it's world here. Obviously, India, let's say Japan or China, every other country becomes a part of it. You got the point. So now, the reason for this war is, one of the reasons is the situation of the Donbas that is escalated. So now for us to prevent, or let's say for the globe as a whole, one way to prevent the outbreak of a war was to implement the so-called agreement called as Minsk Agreement. That is what the suggestion that Russia has given up, because Russia also understood that, come on, war will come and things will become very dirty. So now to prevent that war, one of the suggestions put forward by Russia was to go implement the so-called agreement, that Minsk Agreement. So the details of what this agreement called as Minsk Agreement will also be discussed to you in the coming slides. Clear? Now, let's quickly have a look into what is the importance. Why is Russia so keen? Okay, chalo, we got to invade Ukraine. We got to, capture Ukraine, or we got to keep a clear-cut watchdog, or let's say a clear-cut, watch over what is Ukraine doing. Why? In spite of Ukraine gaining independence in the year 991 also. Without a reason, Russia will not do that. Don't you think so? See, we have to talk about the pros, the cons of both Russia and Ukraine perspective, of both the countries' perspective, and then go for a way forward. So now, initially, keeping in mind this particular perspective, what do you think could be the reason, guys? What do you all think could be the reason? Why do you think Ukraine is important to Russia? Why is Russia so skeptical about invading them like anything? Here we go. Let's quickly have a look into the 4 to 5 important points with regard to the importance of Ukraine to Russia. Point number 1, as I told you, for hundreds of years, be it Ukraine, be it Russia, they have shared cultural and linguistic ties. So now Russia feels that, come on, more or less Ukraine is actually a part of Russia, not something to be declared independent. That is one reason. Second is Russia feels the reason why Ukraine is so important to Russia, and Russia is doing all such things. The Vladimir Putin is doing all such things. Is Russia was the most powerful country in the Soviet Union after Russia. So now Russia is afraid whether they will overcome them in the coming days. Due to which Russia wants to keep them under them. That is also another reason why Russia is focusing on Ukraine at the time possible when they are able to hit them just like that. Third reason is, see, Ukraine has been a hub for all the commercial industries. Now income is fetching up, especially with regard to the factories and also defense manufacturing. For any country, defense is very important with regard to the safety, security, and national security. So now when Ukraine is a hub for that, don't you think so? Once Russia captures them, they become a part of Russia. So Russia can become more powerful world economy compared to other countries again. So internationally, they will have a very good place, especially in the context of competing with whom, guys? With US, that is America. And fourth reason is Ukraine also provides Russia with access to the so-called Black Sea and also a crucial or important connectivity to the Mediterranean Sea. So now when Black Sea and Mediterranean Sea is coming, don't you think so? Again, Russia wants Ukraine to be a part of it. That's why they're very keen in invading. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I've told you 4 different, or let's say 4 important points in a short, sweet and simple manner as to why is Ukraine important to Russia. This is the sole reasons why Russia is more and more interested in capturing or invading what? Ukraine at the every single possible way. No doubt in that. Is it clear? Yes, PK, what is it? Already present ongoing war is one-sided, man. Ukraine is so weak in military, it's better to surrender to Russia. At least civilian life will be saved, right, na ma'am? See, no, PK, no. We should not even talk about war. Let me tell you something. Though Russia wants to go for the, you should understand that this is a war not between Russia and Ukraine. Automatically, the other countries who are coming to be a part of it will also be affected. Which means even a country, India, indirectly will also be affected. The trade relations, the other bilateral relations, all these things will be at a stake. You understand? So every other country will also be affected. I know that, yes, we know that what has happened in Ukraine, the people, the civilian lives, they're all affected. But let us find a way to prevent the war. So in the way forward, I will tell you what we can do to prevent it. Let us not say, chalo, war is required. No, that's very dangerous. And we can never say that it is better that, Ukraine shall be under Russia. Or let's say Russia shall be under Ukraine. No, let's go for a balanced strategy. So these are the reasons why Ukraine is important to Russia, guys. From the UPSC perspective, to understand these reasons in a short and simple manner. But that doesn't mean that we have to say that, chalo, let Ukraine be under Russia. No. That is like what? It shows that, okay, if Russia is tomorrow declaring a war with India, because of the so-called powers and forces they have, the military powers and forces they have, we have to surrender. You cannot encourage all those things. You have to understand and make sure that be it Russia, be it Ukraine, both these countries have to go for a peaceful perspective, which is very, very important. So now we have to make sure that Russia is ready for that. See, what Russia wants is few things. Okay, so without capturing Ukraine, if Russia is able to get that, well and good. And under the context that no war is declared with regard to Ukraine because the civilian or the common people's lives are being affected there. You understand? So we need to understand that perspective instead of saying that, okay, let them surrender, let them not surrender. Come on, these kind of wordings is something, PK, which will actually trigger or let's say lead another controversy out there. You understand? Just imagine, for example, if this was the issue between India and Pakistan. So being an Indian, will you say it is better for India to surrender to Pakistan? Definitely no. The fire will be heated up like anything. You got the point. So now you think from the point of view of a global perspective between Russia and Ukraine. So you will understand how it is. What if you are from Ukraine? Will you say this? No, you will never want it to surrender. Same thing. The same thing over here as well. You understand? Yes, Ahazi. That's a good decision for the whole world. Yeah, obviously. See, as a UPSC faculty and as a UPSC teacher, I would always teach in such a way that the pros, the cons from both the perspective. And then having a clear-cut background understanding of the current topic, we'll be able to put forward a way forward in a very, very diplomatic way. So neither the sentiments, neither the, any of the emotional perspective is being affected for any of the topics or countries or whatever it is. That is the way it should be analyzed. Clear? We cannot be one-sided always. You have to talk about both the sides in a balanced way. Clear? That is what UPSC also expects you people to do in a very, very diplomatic way. That is why the UPSC examination is different from every other kind of examinations in the country, India, guys. That's why IAS or IPS exam is considered to be the most prestigious one. Let me tell you that. Anyways, back to class. Is it very clear why is Ukraine important to Russia? Now, keeping this in mind, let me quickly take you to the most important point of discussion. That is the chief reasons for the aggression of Russia. What do you think could be the main reasons for Russian aggression, guys, with regard to the capturing or invasion of Ukraine? Point number one, under economic factors. If you see, Russia is considering the economic significance of Ukraine because you know Ukraine is the second most powerful Soviet Union after Russia. Okay, so now keeping that in mind, taking into consideration the economic significance of Ukraine, Russia is considered that and that is sorting the Ukraine's membership in the EEAEC. What is that? Eurasian Economic Community. And that is again a free trade agreement which came into force since 2015. That is one reason why Russia is getting aggregated. And if you see, Ukraine has a huge market and also advanced agriculture industrial output. So now the reason why Russia is getting more attracted or let's say more interested to capture Ukraine is this reason. So Ukraine is supposed to play an important role in this perspective also. Though Ukraine is taking into consideration the huge market and advanced agriculture industrial output, though Ukraine is supposed to play a huge important role in the so-called Eurasian Economic Committee, which is a free trade agreement, Ukraine refused to join the agreement. So don't you think so Russia will be angry and infuriated? You're supposed to have an important role in spite of the huge market and advanced agriculture and other facilities. How can you even think of refusing to join us? So that is one reason which triggered the country Russia to go against them. That is one of the economic factors. You got the point. Now, the next important reasons for the aggression of Russia is geopolitical and strategic factors. See, guys, let me tell you something. I am not going to take you detailing point by point or let's say line by line of this topic. Rather, solid 5 points. For example, take care, which is equal to 100 points will be discussed in the session. That will have a micro understanding, no doubt in that. Otherwise, taking a newspaper article or a clipping and just analyzing that doesn't make a sense. So what is important right from the year 991 to today in a systematic and strategic manner to the point. Shooting out to the point is what we'll do in today's class. So that is the reason I have taken the topic in such manner as well. And this topic is also as per the request and demand of so many students. That is why I took it as a special series today. Clear? Perfect. So now let's quickly have a look into what is the, another important perspective of this. So now the next important factor for this particular aggression is nothing but the geopolitical and strategic factors. So if you see, Russia is claiming that the eastward expansion by the NATO, that is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which they call as enlargement or let's say the expansion, it has literally threatened what the interest of the country Russia. And they've asked for some written security guarantees from the NATO as well. So that is another reason which is again, triggering out Russia. Come on, how can you even ask us a written agreement like that for the security purpose? You got the point. That is one thing. So now, apart from that, if you see, if you see, Russia is claiming that the eastward expansion by the so-called NATO, which they call as enlargement, has literally threatened the interest of Russia. Because why would Russia go and go for a written security guarantee? And this NATO is again who guys? North Atlantic Treaty Organization is again led by US. So US is not supporting Russia but rather supporting who? Ukraine. So now again it has infuriated Russia to go against and make sure that Ukraine has been under them. You got the point. And now there was also troll or a meme out there. Let me read out that for you. Hold on. It is very interesting. Take care. That is Vladimir Putin was saying, chalo, listen, interference in Ukraine move would lead to consequences you have never seen. This is what he said. Okay? And Vladimir Putin opens warning to all the nations which were trying to interfere in Russia-Ukraine conflict. Seriously, this was a meme that is put forward, and indeed is the truth as well. That was a warning also given to other country. That is why if you see, even India is skeptical to pass a comment just like that. In a nice way, in a peaceful and a diplomatic manner, our PM Modi used the brain. Used the brains and made sure that we are not entering into any controversies and we are on the safer side, because that is more important for us. You got the point. So all these kind of tamasha is also happening. So now back to what I was saying. So now with regard to NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So now that is an organization led by the US, and they have planned to install missile defense systems in all the Eastern European countries like Poland and the Czech Republic. Why? Because they want to counter Russia's intercontinental range missiles. So now US and NATO, they are giving support to whom? To Ukraine. So don't you think so it will infuriate Russia? Yes, and every other country who is close to US and Russia will be in trouble now. Because whose side you will take? Let's say the case of India itself. Will you take the side of Russia or the side of US? You will be in totally big confusion. You got the point. So geopolitical and strategic factors is also aggravated what the aggression of Russia with regard to capturing of what? Capturing of Ukraine. Next is enlargement of NATO. So as I told you guys, the chief reasons for Russian aggression was all these. Now taking into consideration the economic, geopolitical and strategic factors, let's have a quick look into the enlargement of the so-called NATO. So what is NATO, guys? As I told you, NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is actually led by the US, that is America. And this is a military alliance or association of around 28 European and 2 North American countries. And they altogether constitute a system of collective defense, a very strong defensive perspective. And if you want to enlarge or increase NATO, what is that? Enlargement of NATO is nothing but the process of including new members in NATO. So now, did you understand this line, guys? Enlargement of NATO, where new members are included. So now when US and NATO is actually, stretching their hands or lending their hands for helping Ukraine, what is the meaning of that? They want to enlarge NATO by including Ukraine and not Russia. So don't you think so this will aggravate the aggression of Russia and make sure that Ukraine comes on Russia? So now how will NATO and US be able to enlarge it by making Ukraine join in them? Because if they join now, it will be a huge fight. It will be a huge world war, let me tell you. Because Ukraine will get more power. So Russia will also be equally like that, where they'll declare a war. So before this is happening, Russia want to capture them. You understood the international politics that is happening behind this topic. So smart, so smartly they are, moving. Yes, Hazim, what is it? It's between us, said by Putin. Yeah, Vladimir Putin said that. It's between us, nobody should interfere. Just like when two people fight, okay, the third person is coming. So now even if the third person is coming, you'll say, hey, excuse me, this is my personal thing. Who the hell are you to even come between us? Just like when a husband and wife is fighting, if the mother-in-law, father-in-law or somebody comes, who the hell are you people to come in between? So nobody has a say. So they will say, chalo, let them fight or let them kill or let them love each other. We don't care. Similarly, Russia is trying to say that. But let me tell you, this is not between two individuals, or let's say just only between two countries. This is between so many countries if you think in a holistic perspective. Because the countries in favor of Russia, the countries in favor of Ukraine, and the countries who are common to both these. When a war is declared, whose side will you capture? Whose side will you take? It becomes a huge question mark. So though Vladimir Putin is saying that chalo, it is between us also, the world, the global economy cannot keep quiet like that. The world countries cannot keep quiet like that. You got the point. So this is something which has to be understood in a very, very diplomatic way. Anyways, so now when enlargement of NATO is happening, it is actually including what? New member states in NATO. So now when NATO and US is expanding their support to Ukraine, obviously the meaning of that is they want Ukraine to be part of it, which will again lead to what? Aggression of Russia. You understand? And since the year 1990, that is since the German unification in the year 1990, NATO has added new members 5 times. So now also they're okay and ready to add whom? Ukraine. And that is not liked by Russia. And that is the reason for the anger or aggression by Russia as a whole. Clear? And this so-called NATO, guys, if you see the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, this alliance had, let's say, 12 founding members since 1949. And now since then, if you see, they have been keeping on adding. Around 5 times they kept on adding members and all. And today, as per 2021-22 data, this NATO is having 30 members. If Ukraine is added, then it will become 31. But at any cost, they don't want Russia to be a part of it. That is again another kalataram out there. And thus, the members of the so-called NATO, it consists of even countries, guys, called as Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. These are very, very important, guys. Please go through the Baltic countries from the prelims examination perspective. You can consider the following statement questions based on that. Okay, so go through that. So now the members include the Baltic countries like Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania because they share the borders with Russia. So now these countries called as Baltic countries, the ones who share border with Russia is also part of NATO. So now instead of calling Russia, they're calling Ukraine now to be a part of it. Or let's say they want Ukraine to be a part of it. So that is again another reason for what the aggression of Russia. And if you see in the NATO, you even had members like Hungary, Poland, Romania, and Bulgaria. And all of these countries, if you see, once upon a time, they were all a part of the former Soviet-led Warsaw Pact. But today they are not. So now all these are aggravating Russia. Come on, once they were all a part of us, or let's say the ones bordering our own country, now they are going with NATO and we are not a part of it. So now if Ukraine is coming into that, you know what happened? Even the border countries of Russia will go against them, which will put Russia in trouble. So Russia is double and triple smarter to make sure that Ukraine is under them. So then such kind of future problems can be prevented. Because as I told you in the beginning of the class, Ukraine is the second most powerful country in the Soviet Union after Russia. So Russia has to be careful, no doubt in that. That is why Russia is doing all this jagada, and in the weaker time of Ukraine, they're trying to capture. But at any cost, we should not say that Ukraine should surrender. People are asking, should Ukraine surrender for this to come down? If you do that, then where is world peace? Where is the so-called prosperity out there? Tomorrow, if Russia, let's say any other country, is declaring a war with another country, how can we be one-sided and say that, okay, this country has to surrender, that country has to surrender because they cannot fight back? No. Rather, the support of every other nation should come together, and then a peaceful analysis or a peaceful discussion of the same should happen. That is the way IR, or let's say international relations topic, have to be discussed, my young officers. Clear? Is it understandable? Yes, Senthil Kumar, thank you. Perfect. So now, a massive Russian build-up. This is something that they can see. Latvia, Lithuania, Bulgaria, you can see all the countries coming up between Russia and Ukraine. Can you see that? Just for you to know which are the different countries bordering them and coming next to them and all. Just for you to understand. You can see Russia over here and Ukraine over here. Now, why is Russia doing all this? Why do you think, guys, this conflict has brought up suddenly again after so many years? If you see, Russia has kept so many demands. Let's quickly have a look into what are the demands put forward by Russia. So now Russia is saying, see, TK, Russia has demanded a ban on further expansion of NATO because enlargement or expansion of NATO consists of including new members. As I told you, look at this point. They wanted Ukraine to be a part of it. If Ukraine is a part of NATO, again, NATO is led by US. They'll become more powerful. They'll be equally with regard to Russia. For so many years, Russia has been overlooking, or let's say, keeping a close eye on what Ukraine is doing, like an orbit around them. So now they become more powerful. Russia will be in threat. Because for the fact that Ukraine also is one of the biggest commercial manufacturing hub with regard to defense as well. So they have to be very, very careful. You understand? So Russia is kind of protecting their own country because they never know when Ukraine can turn against them. They are feeling like that. So due to which they are doing it very smarter. So now the demand of Russia is shallow. When the enlargement or expansion of NATO, that is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is happening, that should not take place. There should be a complete ban on that because that NATO expansion consists of countries like Ukraine and Georgia. And they share the borders of Russia. So Russia cannot take that to heart. So Russia is saying, come on, there should be a ban. And second thing is, Russia also asks NATO, see, you have to pull back its military deployments. And do you think this issue is really because, of Russia's, potential desire to invade Ukraine? No, it is actually popped up from US, guys. The secret or the hidden agenda is from US. The Joe Biden-led government of US now, NATO is a part of it. So slowly they wanted to trigger Russia where they want Ukraine to be a part of it. So automatically what happened? Russia, instead of going against them, directly they are playing against Ukraine as a whole. Because if they do that, automatically it's like hitting again US and or let's say NATO from preventing them from giving the support. You got the point. You see how diplomatically things have been happening. See, when we see initially, we feel that chalo, it is between Russia and Ukraine. But the real thing is not between Russia and Ukraine. It is between Russia and US actually. US in the context of the so-called support that they're trying to give to Ukraine. So they have used Ukraine as a part. That is the real agenda behind it. They do not want Ukraine to have a good relationship with US as a whole, where a lot of support will be given. You got the point. So this is something that they are, focusing to greater extent. Clear? We never thought such kind of kallatrams will be there. Yes, PK, US is double gamer. Yeah, kind of. See, they are playing a smart game. Simple as that. So now you can see whatever demand Russia is saying, Russia is not demanding directly on Ukraine. Russia is saying that, see, let there be ban on NATO, because NATO is led by US again. And also Russia is asking NATO to pull back all the military deployments to the 1990 levels. And they also want to prohibit what? The deployment of intermediate range missiles in the so-called bordering area. Otherwise, they will become more powerful. You understand? And thus, Russia again is asking NATO, not Ukraine. You understand this? Russia is again asking NATO to curb or reduce what? Their military cooperation with Ukraine. Do not give any sort of military support to them. We know that Ukraine is a little weak in the military power compared to Russia. But if NATO is giving the military power, because the meaning of that is US is giving the military power, because equally strong US is with regard to Russia today. So it will be a huge war between US and Russia. So now be it China, Japan, India, Australia, let's say every other country bordering it and near to it and close to it will be affected. That's why people say, chalo, do you think a WW3, this is not wrestling ka perspective, I mean World War 3 will come. Already because of the so-called COVID-19 pandemic, without a physical war, the bio war with regard to the coronavirus spread by China is causing a huge issue. Now, physically between Ukraine and Russia, war comes, it is not between Ukraine and Russia, but rather between so many other countries. You understood the real perspective, guys. That is the reason why Russia is aggressive. Yes, PK, yes, ma'am. Now I clearly understand why Russia is aggressive. Obviously, see, that is the reason I taught you the reason why Ukraine is important. Russia, and it is US who's triggering through NATO. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. You understand? Here also, Russia is not directly telling US. Russia is telling NATO. And who is heading NATO or who is leading NATO? Obviously, US. So directly name is not hitting up there of US. But rather like this, they are giving a warning. Chalo, you move away from this. You don't interfere in this. And don't try to show support and try to gather the support and make them more powerful to go against us. This is what Vladimir Putin is trying to tell. Simple as that. Really, I'm telling you, when I was studying and analyzing this topic, guys, even I felt quite, interesting, because, oh my goodness, this is not just two countries' conflict and issues or tensions as what we see. It is way more than that. You understand? So something way more than that is what this topic is all about. So it's actually interest the, learners or the audience. Forget about UPSC learners or UPSC aspirants. Anybody out there who is interested in current affairs would really love to, understand or let's say analyze this topic in this manner. Seriously. Yes, PK, indirectly US is playing the smart game. Obviously, they are doing it. They're very smart. See, they're one of the superpowers, guys, in the entire globe. They are developed economy with so many things. And the fact that why US is having issue with Russia is because they're equally strong in military and the nuclear perspective. So US want to head that. So they're capturing the, other countries which is having issues to Russia. So smart game they are playing. You got the point. Anyways, you never knew now this kind of politics is happening. That is why we say that international relations is a beautiful topic to study. Not just for the fact that you study about countries, rather you study about the diplomacy, the internal politics, the external politics, the kallatarams, the main agenda, the main reason. It's kind of investigation. You keep on investigating why this issue, between which country, who all are affected, what will be the consequences. So now you yourself is learning the quality of investigation deeper and deeper, or researching deeper and deeper in the topic. Automatically international relations will take you like that. That is the beauty of this particular subject. Seriously, me being an economist, I love economy, no doubt in that. But in current affairs, if you see after economics, this IR is one such subject which is my all-time favorite, because it's so beautiful, guys. It makes you more and more creative and innovative in finding out the background, or let's say the real reasons behind such kind of various issues. You really become very diplomatic when you study IR. Really, that is the reason IR, or let's say international relations, is introduced in UPSC also. No doubt in that. Anyways. Now, yes, Danya, very great Kallataram going on. Obviously, yeah, it is going on, no doubt in that. Now, back to the next point. So now, these are the demands put forward by Russia. Did you understand, all of you, clearly? Now, having understood all this, what do you think could be the response from the West? Okay, Russia has demanded all these. You think NATO is keeping quiet? Let's say NATO-led US will keep quiet listening to all this? Now, look at this. Very smart. The smart part of the game is over here, guys. When the Russia's demand was so and so, they placed three different demands. Okay? That is to ban the expansion, which includes NATO expansion, which includes country like Ukraine, then to pull back the military deployment, then to curb the military cooperation that they have with Ukraine and all. So now what did US do? Directly US said that the response is that the US has ruled out changing NATO's open door policy. And what is the meaning of that? What is open door policy of NATO, guys, which has been changed by America? The meaning of that is that NATO will still continue. I repeat, NATO will still continue to induct or take more members, which means Russia's demand of saying, Hello, you have to ban the enlargement or expansion of NATO, which includes even countries like Ukraine. US is saying, come on, that cannot be possible in indirect way. In the context that they have ruled out changing NATO's open door policy, where the meaning of that is they will still continue to induct or let's say permit more and more new countries to be a part of it for the fact that they want Ukraine to be a part of it. You understand? And US also says they will continue to offer training and weapons to Ukraine. You just imagine when such kind of reply is given, what happened? Do you really think it is the fight between Russia and Ukraine? Do you really think so? No, it is between Russia and US. See, they're directly saying using Ukraine as a weapon, they're fighting, guys. They're nicely playing. Like in Mahabharata, Pandavas and Kauravas, Shakuni plays the role of king and queen over there to make a fight. You understand? That is the whole point here. Similarly, and thus the next thing is US also said the reply that they gave to the demand of Russia is the US is said to be open to a discussion regarding the so-called military missile deployment and a mutual reduction in military exercise in Eastern Europe. See, Russia said let there be a reduction in the military deployment and all. US said okay, to this we agree. We can have an open discussion for the fact that not only US, even Russia should be ready to have a mutual reduction in the military exercises that they do where in the Eastern Europe, which consists of Ukraine as well. And if you see Germany also, guys, once now they have warned Russia that Nord Stream 2 pipeline that will be stopped, completely stopped if Russia were to invade Ukraine. Yeah, so this is a threat that Germany has given to Russia saying that, chalo, if you really think of invading them, come on, we are going to stop the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project, which is a very, very important project. So that warning is also there for Russia. So now Ukraine is again joining with NATO means it becomes more powerful where Russia's international ties, cordial relations and other things become a big stake. And they can even go out and fight with Russia also, Ukraine, because so many power they have got. You got the point. Simple, guys. The quadrilateral framework. What did India do? India slowly and nicely triggered US against China. During Donald Trump's Trump rule, what happened? We know that US was totally with China, and they had a lot of Cold War with us. But when John Biden came and slowly we triggered it up, and we made sure that taking into consideration the pandemic situation, other reasons behind it, we could make US, Japan, Australia to be a part of the quadrilateral framework with a good tie and relationship. You understand? So now, in the similar way, now Russia is in a situation where if they are kind of trying to invade Ukraine, be it Germany, be it other countries, all will give support to Ukraine. So what happened? Automatically, Ukraine becomes more powerful. And thus, the reply for, Russia's demand given by NATO, or let's say US directly is with regard to Ukraine is, US even threatens Russia by imposing new economic sanctions if at all they attempt to invade Ukraine. This is what is happening. So now after understanding this, what do you feel? Is it really between Russia and Ukraine? Ukraine is just a tool. Poor thing. But again, US is playing a smart game. The people of US, the civilians of US are not affected, whereas the people of people of Ukraine is affected, which is indeed a bad thing, which US is also doing. See, Russia wants to do this. US is triggering Russia. So thus Russia is replying back very well. But why is Ukraine affected? Neither the people of Russia, of course, the people of Russia is affected. But then now, since Ukraine is having a less or weak military power, they have been the most affected people, the common people there. You understand? So, US and Russia ka issue is actually affecting Ukraine, where it has become like Russia and Ukraine ka conflict. Clear? Yes, Ashutosh, but Ukraine has been left on. Yeah, that is a reality. Ukraine has been left on. But do not worry. Ukraine will get so much of power now. If Russia is still doing this, now what happens? They will definitely get more power, no doubt in that. That's why Russia is afraid, and Russia is telling that this shouldn't be the case. And for our country, India, we need Russia again, because we have very good nuclear ties, relations, and stuffs like that. And we also need US, because for the development, for various other perspectives. So we, when they say, or let's say when other countries are interfering, it becomes a question mark for many countries, because more or less we share a relationship with these two countries. You understand? Now, this is indeed the most interesting part of the session, guys. The Russia-Ukraine crisis. Okay, what is the implications for our country, India? Now, if an invasion by Russia is being done to Ukraine, now it will put pressure on our country, India. As I told you guys, that is whether India should go with Russia or the Western Alliance, that is US. As I told you, with Russia also we are having a very cordial relationship. With US also we have a cordial relationship. Now we have got the relationship back with US to go against China, who is a common enemy again. You got the point? See, understand this in a very nice manner, guys. Just like in a family, when a fight is happening between the two different people, some members who are close to both will be in trouble. Whose side you will take? When two children are fighting in a family, which side the father and mother will take? Similarly, when this kind of thing is going on, the implications for our country, India, is if Russia is going for invasion. Now, come on, this is really going to be very, very serious in the context that it becomes very difficult for our country, India, to make a choice between whether we should support Russia or the Western Alliance, that is US and NATO. Which means automatically, if you are supporting US, means you are supporting Ukraine, not Russia. It becomes again a heated topic of discussion. And thus, the next implication is, since we are maintaining a very strong relationship with Russia, Russia serves India's national interest. So now we cannot even think of showing a nose to Russia as well. You cannot do a nose cutting there also. And thus, the most important factor that a country, India, has to keep in mind is we have to play a safer side. For that, we have to be very, very diplomatic in the decision that we take and the kind of remarks that we even make. So thus, India has to retain a strong strategic alliance with whom? With Russia. Which means, if that is the case, if at all India has to go with Russia, what is the meaning of that? The result is that India cannot join any Western strategy which is aimed at isolating or let's say putting Russia stand alone. So automatically we will be with Russia in the context that we are against Ukraine. We may be against Ukraine, and it's not against Ukraine, actually against NATO and US, which is again a huge impact or a threat to us. So we are like, caught up in the middle of the sea. Neither you would want to jump to the left side nor the right side. You stand still like this. You do not know what to do. You understand? In Malayalam, there is a famous saying, that is, between the devil and the sea, you do not know what to do. If you go in the sea also, you will drown. If you go this side to the devil also, you will be destroyed. You do not know what to do. You're standing just like that. Like you're just standing just like a statue. That is the condition of India now. See, clear? Yes, Ratika? And now, another important implications with regard to the Russia-Ukraine crisis, there is a possibility of CAATSA sanctions on India by the US as a result of S-400. You remember the S-400 triumph and all the missile thing and all we discussed. So now again, India-US is having a great relationship there. So what happens if the CAATSA sanctions been again banned? Fatafat, the great opportunity for a country, India, is going on. Because if you go with Russia, come on, you're against Ukraine. We're not against Ukraine in the real sense. Rather against US, because US wants to support what? Along with NATO, US want to support Ukraine. So now both the perspective come on. Our India is really in a big standstill. So diplomacy is the only part we got to take. And sometimes, it is said that, elder people used to say, it is good to be silent at some point of time. Otherwise, the issue can be aggravated. Once the issue is come down, chalo, yeah, then you can, raise your voice or whatever. That is called as acting smartly and wisely. It's not like raising the voice every now and then. When you got to act wisely and smartly, it's good to use the brains also kabhi. You understand? That's very interesting, Hannah, to know this kind of politics behind this. So tell me, guys, did you all really know the Russia-Ukraine conflict in such a scenario? Or let's say in such analysis manner, did you ever think of thinking about this? Because we never think the real culprits, or let's say the real, issues between Russia and US. We never think like that. We think about the Ukraine, we think about the people of them, and we feel, why is Russia doing this? Why is the issue of Ukraine happening? But when you deeply research on the topic, you get to know, chalo, this is a real, stuff out there. Clear? Now, another implications on our country India with regard to the crisis or conflict that is happening between Russia and Ukraine is a pact between the US and Russia might affect even the relationship that Russia is having with China. Come on, this is another important and interesting point to be noted. For example, if a pact agreement is coming, okay, between US and Russia. Now, what happened? The real Shagini called China, who want to be a superpower in the entire globe, guys. Now we can connect Mahabharata to this, Pandava, Kaurava, and Shagini. China wants to play this smart game everywhere, right? So now, if at all an agreement or a pact is signed between Russia and US, who will get affected? You know, the relationship of Russia with China will get affected. And now India is on the right track, on the positive implication perspective, for the fact that in such kind of scenario, this might allow our country, India, to expand on its efforts to re-establish ties with Russia. At all, for example, sometimes, okay, I'm telling you an example. If at all India has to go with Russia, in that case, with regard to US, you know, you have to face the bitterness out there. But now, when things are sorted out and an agreement between US and Russia is coming, automatically the relationship of Russia with China gets affected. That is a time where India can use the opportunity and make use of that, where if the effort has been put in to re-establish ties with Russia, come on, things are on the safer side. You understand? And thus, the issue with Ukraine is that the world is becoming increasingly economically and geopolitically interconnected. That's why I told you guys in the beginning itself, this is not just between two countries. Though Vladimir Putin is telling, come on, this is between us, no other nation should even think or dare to even interfere. He can say just like that. But then today, we need to understand that we are in the 21st century, and internationally we all the countries across the globe do share economic, social, geopolitical and strategic relations. So the effect of at one place will definitely show the result in some other place. So because of the fact that we have an increased economic and geopolitical interconnectedness, this issue of Ukraine is really hitting the entire global economies, no doubt in that. So now any improvement, if at all happens with regard to Russia and China ties, come on, then there has been ramifications for India as well. So India will always think of what? Think of avoiding China, because China can do a greater kallatram over there. For the fact that India always want to make sure that China is not entering into it. That is the reason India has taken interest on this perspective as a whole. And thus, I can tell you that the implications of our country, India, with regard to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is that there is also an impact on the strong Indian diaspora, which is present in the so-called region, because it is threatening the lives of thousands of Indian students. You think Indians are not studying there? Of course, in Russia and Ukraine, you have students out there, the international students and the people who are even working and living over there. So now this is also a great impact on the Indian diaspora and present in the region, guys, because so many people are there. So who has a security or guarantee for their lives out there? So all these things have to be taken into consideration when India is taking a stand, or let's say India is taking a decision out there. Clear? Perfect. Any doubt up to here, guys? And I hope the session is really interesting you people, because the real heated argument is only going to come up again. Yes? Now, let's quickly have a look into what is the stand of different countries or nations on this particular issue. Just like India, guys, there are so many of the countries who shares the borders with Russia, who shares the borders with Ukraine, who has a good cordial relationship between these two countries, also have their own stand, or let's say point of view as a whole. Let's quickly have a look into what that is. If you see, already US has announced sanctions prohibiting new trade, new investments and financing by US persons to, from or in the two breakaway regions. This is declared by US at the first instance itself. And if you see, with regard to the country, Japan, the stand of different nations on the conflict or issues between Russia and Ukraine is Japan is likely to join the US-led sanctions. They are more in favor of US-led sanctions, which means that they are in favor of Ukraine, not in Russia. You understand? Whereas French officials have been quoted as saying in reports that the EU, European Union, is also in discussions for punitive actions against Russia, which means you can see more support for Ukraine coming up. Don't you think so? Be it the first point, US or be it Japan, be it European Union, be it, French officials. Come on, you can see support for Ukraine is coming up more and more. And now what Russia is doing is also hurting the sentiments of so many people, because the civilians or the common people of Ukraine has been affected, due to which the Ukraine is getting more and more support, which Russia is not understanding. Clear? Yes, Ashutosh and Danya. Thank you for that. That is why such kind of topics I bring in, because it is interesting and we have a lot more to analyze. This is actually enabling you to have a very good cognitive understanding as well, because your brains work 2 times faster in thinking what can be done, what is the real issue, why it is like this. So multiple perspective under one single umbrella in a short span of time, like a 360-degree coverage, makes you fulfilled instead of spending 4 and 5 hours on the same topic and wasting your time. That is not required for a UPSC aspirant. UPSC aspirants require something which is a smart work strategy, which will actually give you real success. And that is what we are doing in every single session as a whole. Anyways, so having understood the opinions, or let's say stand of US and Japan and European Union on this so-called issue, let's quickly have a look into the other countries as well. Okay, that's very important again. If you see the European Union, they condemned Russia over a blatant violation of what? International law, as well as the Minsk Agreement. So Russia itself suggested that initially I told you that, see, a war has already come up. So now one way to prevent war is to go for the Minsk Agreement. But what is Russia doing now? They're kind of violating the Minsk Agreement, and also a violation of international law is happening. So European Union has condemned Russia for that, for the fact that again EU is going against Russia, automatically support goes to whom? Ukraine. And thus UK, London also, what did they do? United Kingdom has also warned of further sanctions. And if you see Australia, come on, they also call Russia's actions unacceptable. It's unprovoked, it's unwarranted. So now you can see all these countries, they are not in favor of Russia. They're actually in favor of whom, guys? Favor of Ukraine. So now India is also going to do the same. You know what will happen? Fatafat war will come, because India is not like UK and Australia, guys, or let's say US. This is having a very, very good military power. Of course, we do have, but they're even more stronger, for the fact that they are developed or advanced nations. We are just developing. So we need the support of every single country to go in a diplomatic way. That is why instead of passing a comment, either whether we are with the side of Russia or let's say the side of Ukraine, we passed a very, very diplomatic comment by saying that we are adopting the peace strategy. You understand? So that is the most important diplomatic approach done by whom, guys? By a country, India. So let's quickly have a look into the detail of what is the stance of a country, India, on the so-called Russia-Ukraine conflict. When many other countries said that, come on, Russia's actions is violating the law, it is against the Minsk Agreement, it is not acceptable, it is provocable, etc., etc. India said that, chalo. The stand for a country, India, till today, guys, till today is India did not join the Western power, which is a condemnation of Russia's intervention in Crimea, and kept a low profile on the issue. This is very important to understand. We kept a low profile. What is the meaning of that? We never offered any sort of support on a larger perspective with regard to this particular issue. Did you understand? That is a smart game played by a country, India. You got the point. A very, very smart game played by a country, India. Clear? Yes? Am I audible and visible to you people? Is everything fine? Perfect. So now we wanted to give a low profile for the fact that a country, India, felt okay, we need more time to think over this particular issue, because sudden, let's say a sudden decision, or let's say a sudden reply can even fire back for us as well. So we wanted to be in a low profile on this issue. And thus, if you see in the year 2020, month of November 2020, India even voted against a Ukraine-sponsored resolution in the UN. So now we cannot just go like that and be with Ukraine as a whole, because in the year 2020, what did we do? Our past actions that we directly voted against, Ukraine-sponsored resolution in UN itself. And that is actually condemned alleged human rights violation in Crimea, thereby backing old ally Russia on the issue as a whole. So now the only option for us is actually to be a part of Russia again. But then we have to think of what is actually happening in the Ukraine perspective and with regard to US and other countries also. That is why we are trying to maintain a low profile on this particular issue. And recently, if you see, what happened, keeping the background data into consideration, recently, what did India do? We also suggested at the UN Security Council that quiet and constructive diplomacy is the need of the hour. You see how smart is a country, India. Come on. Let's give 3 kudos to our country, India, guys. Being Indian, you should be really proud. You see how strategically we have used the words also. Quiet and constructive diplomacy, directly hitting the bar, directly hitting the nose like anything India is going to reply. They're suggesting, come on, to the UN, United Nations Security Council, let's go for a very quiet and constructive diplomacy. Because that is what we need, is what India is trying to say, for the fact that India is projecting itself as a great saint or a guru. Let me tell you that. And that is what India should do. Because we cannot take one particular stand just like that at this juncture or point of time, because it can aggravate more controversies and more issues. We'll be like welcoming more and more problems. Already we have so many issues in our country that is going on internally as well. Why should we even think about welcoming more and more problems internationally? Come on, that is going to really cause a huge trouble for the growth and development of our country, India, because we are in the developing process. We are an emerging economy, not an emerged one, not developed one. You understand? And thus, India also suggested that any step that could escalate the tension should be avoided. So India is like a peace guru. Chalo, the peace guru India is like, where, let us go for peaceful relations. Let us not go for such kind of fight. Very smart. You understand? Because India has taken this decision for the fact that they can only stand with Russia. And now, if at all they go with Ukraine, now there will be a problem with Russia. And now, if they're with Russia again, it's not Ukraine, it's about the US, guys, because US and other Australia and all, Japan and all, they're giving support to whom? To Ukraine. So now India will be an enemy of all these countries again. So you may think that, ma'am, if that is the case, why can't India not be with Ukraine? Because, and then make Russia isolated. That is why I told you that India cannot make Russia isolated, for the fact, I have told you so many points for that. We cannot do that. We cannot even think of isolating Russia, because India has a very good, strong relation with Russia with regard to national interest, military interest and all. You understand? So we cannot join any Western strategy for this reason. And also the Qatar sanction with regard to the S-400 between India and US is also on process. So now both the perspective, India is in a confusion standstill. So this is not directly between India and US, but if you go for Ukraine, now this is the issue. And also, if you see in the year 2020, what happened? India directly voted against the UN Ukraine sponsored resolution. So since already India has done that, we cannot again go back and support Ukraine also. You got the point. But we can lend a helping hand in a peaceful manner. That is what we can do. So keeping all these background data into consideration only, this particular suggestion was put forward by our country, India, at the UN Security Council. And now, when this was said, well, you know what did Russia do? What did Vladimir Putin do? Come on, this particular stand of India has been highly appreciated and welcomed by whom, guys? By Russia. So now, what did you understand from this? India is on the right track. India knows to play and how to play. What to talk, when to talk, how to talk. This is mastered by a country, India. We are the BAP of all these things. Let me tell you that. So that's a hats off to a country, India. I'm not joking. This is pretty much a serious thing, guys. Really, I'm telling you. Anyways. Now, don't you think so that we have to go for the peace talk, for the global prosperity and peace? So what do you think where the peace talk so far with regard to the Russia-Ukraine conflict? If you see, the NATO led by the US, that is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization led by the US, they feel that Russia's recognition of the so-called independence and also the building of its army on the border of Ukraine is a violation of whom? Of the Ukraine sovereignty and the international law. So they say that Russia is actually encroaching, or Russia is not, taking into consideration so many things, is what they're saying. They say that because Russia is a great military power, or let's say they have so much of power globally, they are kind of using it and encroaching, or let's say they're violating the sovereignty of Ukraine, because since 1991, as I told you, what is the thing, guys? Ukraine has become independent. So now it is a kind of encroachment on their sovereignty as a whole, and also the international law. That is one point to be understood. However, though this is a thing also, with regard to the peace talk perspective, Russia is justifying, come on, by saying that, come on, we are not doing that. We are not encroaching like that. And Russia is justifying its position as safeguarding. That's what I told you. Ukraine is the second most powerful Soviet country in the Soviet Union. So now if Ukraine is getting support from NATO, US and all these perspectives, they become more powerful. And tomorrow, Ukraine again being the most important commercial hub for manufacturing and industries and factories and also the defense perspective, they can even attack Russia. So why would we be a prey? We are taking precaution. It is said that prevention is better than cure. So Russia is justifying by saying that we are kind of preventing it because of all these issues. You got the point. So they are saying that, okay, they are justifying its position as safeguarding its own well. as the security of ethnic Russians living in the regions, even the Ukraine perspective. Clear? So smart, Hannah. How brilliantly Russia has replied. And thus, the talks between Russia, Ukraine, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, because of the peace talks, what happened? It led to the development of a protocol called as Minsk Agreement, a protocol for the year 2014 and 15. But currently, the action taken by Russia is in such a way that they are even violating what? The international law, and also the Minsk Agreement protocol is what the other countries are saying. Clear? Now, when the Minsk Protocol was decided as a matter of peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, this protocol, you know what happened? This Minsk Protocol, M-I, you can just note it, guys, M-I-N-S-K. Now, this particular protocol, they proposed a ceasefire where you're kind of bringing down or decentralizing the power without recognizing the autonomous republics of the regions called Donetsk and Lugansk, which does not want to be a part of Ukraine but want to be a part of Russia. So they're kind of pulling out the forces and heavy weaponry 15 kilometers, guys, from the LOC, line of contact. You understand? And again, if you see these violations of ceasefire, it has also led to what? So many deaths of people, around 14,000 people, as I told you, has died because of the fight that happened between Ukrainian army and the Moscow or Russian supported rebels. So again, Jagada is going on with regard to even loss of life between the people of these two, countries. And if you see for the with regard to the peace perspective, to establish peace and to stop war between these two countries, talks was happening again between France, Germany, Ukraine with Russia. So France, Germany, Ukraine talks happened between France, Germany, Ukraine with Russia, and that was called as Normandy-Paris process in the year 2019. Now, even after that also, they are saying that they have not seen success because Russians want a legal guarantee of security that the West is refusing. So they are saying that Russia is saying that they don't have security, because of which they're doing all these things. But Ukraine is saying that, chalo, we are now under the threat, we have no security. So whom will you believe, guys? Whom will you take a stand at? Both are using the same thing. And Russia has their own set of, points to be justified. Ukraine has their own set of points to be justified for the fact that it is not Ukraine, actually US who's doing that. You got the point. So this is the issue that is really happening. Clear? And the peace talk also ended up in war talk only. No peace has come up. Still, they are saying that we are not agreeing for that. We are not agreeing for this. So what happened to peace? Peace becomes a cease, I can tell you. Not a peace. It's become a forced talk rather than a peace talk. Now, the most important problem of Russia today with regard to the conflict of between these two countries, Ukraine joining NATO, because enlargement of NATO is welcoming new members to induct or join in it. So now Russia's demand was like, chalo, Ukraine should not join NATO, or NATO should withdraw the enlargement, was what they said. Hena? So now, if at all Ukraine is joining NATO, which is led by US, what could be the issues or consequences, guys? Point number one. When Ukraine is getting the membership of North Atlantic Treaty Organization, don't you think so? They have the strength to regain the autonomous regions of Luhansk and Donbass, and also Crimea, which is captured by Russia, and they hold the ports in the Black Sea region. Now, Luhansk and Donbass want to be a part of Russia. They don't want to be a part of Ukraine. They want to be independent. But now, when Ukraine is joining with NATO, now they can use the power and they can capture those autonomous regions also. Even the Crimea peninsula occupied by Russia will also be captured by Ukraine using the power, because they become 2 times stronger because of the US support and forces of military arms and all. And thus, NATO, if you see, they expanded to include 13 former Central East European countries. And all of these countries, now, come on, they are well armed, and where Russia is posing a major threat. So now, what if all these NATO countries, when Ukraine is a part of it, every other NATO member countries will offer help to Ukraine. So what happened to Russia? Russia is at a threat. So Russia feels that our security is at a threat. So why should we even allow this or think of, appreciating this, is what Russia is saying. So that is the reason. This is the biggest fear Russia is having. So if Ukraine is joining NATO, come on, it will be a very big issue, they are saying. These kind of security issues is what Russia is fearing, due to which Russia is doing every single thing to prevent it. That's what I said, prevention is better than cure. That is why Russia is doing all this. And thus, the NATO missiles in Ukraine could reach Moscow in about 5 minutes. So now who will be in trouble, guys? Russia. Fatafat blasting will happen either from Ukraine or from Russia. So Russia is doing it and capturing Ukraine. So then this kind of issue will not happen. Clear? And if you see, through the 1990s, after the Soviet collapse, or let's say the breakdown, Russia became very weakened. And thus, a weakened Russia made repeated offers of what? Of collaboration, equal treatment, and better relations. And that time, Russian leaders were promised that NATO would not expand eastward. But what is NATO doing? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization led by US is actually now expanding eastward, and they want Ukraine to be a part of it, which is again violating of what they said is what Russia is telling. However, many Central East European states already joined NATO. So if Ukraine is a part of it, come on, it's a big threat. Threat to whom? Threat to the so-called Russia as a whole. Clear? And thus the OSCE and Europe's Paris Charter, they also signed a lot of mutual cooperation, guys, for promoting peace and security with Russia since 1990. So these are the most important points to be understood with regard to this particular topic. Clear? And at all, if again Ukraine is joining NATO, another consequence for Russia is Russia also made several concessions from the year 1990. Why? Because they want to accommodate NATO positions, including in Serbia. And if at all Ukraine is joining, come on, this will be destroyed. And thus the Russia-NATO Partnership for Peace of 1994 and NATO-Russia Founding Act 97, they committed that NATO and Russia, both these, security would not be undermined. But now when Ukraine is joining, don't you think so the security of Russia will be undermined and Russia will be in threat? Yes, these are the questions that Russia is posing out. You understand? Did you understand, guys? And thus we know that Ukraine is what? The rimland, and it's a bridge or a gap between Russia and also Europe. All the attacks on Russia, right from Napoleon to Hitler, they came through Ukraine. So now if Ukraine is going somewhere else, now it is against Russia. So Russia will not have a strong hold also for again all the fight. Right from the time of Napoleon to Hitler, this has been happening. So even if you take a background check also, guys, come on, this is more important. And also if you see Russia's route to Europe for all the transport or trade and oil pipeline, again this is Ukraine. If Ukraine is not a part of them, again what happened? The trade relations, the investment perspective, the other deals of Russia will be at a stake. Where they need to depend upon Ukraine, listen to them. It becomes like the ulta, where Russia has to listen to Ukraine. That becomes a question. It becomes a big question mark for them. So they are not ready for that. And also if you see post the 9/11 attacks, which happened, the most pathetic terror attack that happened on November 2011, Russia was so supportive of US concern. Now, since Russia achieved strategic equality with US and they are equal with regard to fighting with US with regard to military or whatever, US has rejected any written commitment for Russia's security from NATO. That is again triggering Russia. Why is US doing this? Why are they supporting Ukraine and again forming a group against us? All these kind of things are going on in the minds of Russia, which is actually triggering them and aggravating them more to capture Ukraine at any cost. It's a direct reply to US that Russia is trying to do. You understand? And also for the fact that Ukraine is very, very important for Russia, because I told you the 4 important points. Why Russia is more interested with regard to Ukraine, or to capture them or to invade them. Clear? Or to keep them under a clear watch or control. See, so many things are there, guys. Simply Russia will not do, and simply Ukraine will also not do. So does US as well. US also has their plan of using Ukraine as a weapon and doing all these things. Clear? Is it clear, everybody? And now, here comes the most interesting part of the topic, guys. The US has gained traction. Do you really think so? Yes. If you see the face-off they are having with Russia, now that has provided the US with several opportunities, because US is getting better opportunity when they had the so-called nose cut with Russia. And if you see, the dominant narrative is that Ukraine is a sovereign nation and they were ready to join NATO. How can Russia say, come on, you cannot join NATO? See, anybody will ask a question. When you are an independent individual, you have a right to dress the way you want. You have a right to drink whatever you want. You have a right to, say whatever you want, provided you are not hurting anybody as a whole, right? When you are independent adult, you can do all these things. Similarly, when Ukraine is not under Russia today. Ukraine is a sovereign nation since 1991. So how can Russia say that Ukraine cannot join NATO, or how can even Russia tell NATO that, come on, you ban all your enlargements and don't include Ukraine? How can that be possible? How can that be possible? You understand? So thus, Russia's action of sending an army as peacekeepers, it lead to what? Heavy sanctions, because that could hurt and isolate Russia, because Russia will have to stand alone. So now that is the time where US is able to gain more traction and more support from many other countries. And now India is in a big confusion, because India also India has to be with Russia. But if the situation goes like this, then slowly they have to move to US as a whole. But again, the fact of Ukraine cannot match with them as a whole. So we are in a big trouble. That is why I told you what is the stand of a country India and what is the implication of our country India, positive and negative, on the so-called conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Clear? And if you see another important point that the US has gained in this issue, that is Russia-Ukraine the conflict. Now the gaining part has gone with Ukraine for the fact that, for US for the fact that US has given, or let's say provided the an opportunity, and it is not actually provided by US. Rather, Russia. I can tell you, Russia has provided US an opportunity to strengthen a weakening European alliance. Though France and Germany have been talking independent, talking independent nations, they would have been even forced to accept so-called US leadership in the presence and control in Europe as a whole. So Russia has actually given such opportunity to US as a whole. And even Germany is now threatening Russia by saying that, see, if you capture or if you go against Ukraine, then we will cancel the Nord Stream pipeline. You understand? So all these things been threatened to Russia also. So now the Nord Stream pipeline that is ready to be used will suffer delays, and this will again affect whom? Russia, Germany, and also Europe. So now Russia is also in a big trouble. That is why Russia is very diplomatically playing the game and saying that, come on, Ukraine will be invaded. That's what they're trying to say. Whereas every other country is also against them, but they're very smart enough to make sure that other countries are not taking any actions against them. Clear? Now, in the beginning of the class, I told you that if at all you want to prevent a war, then you should go for something called as Minsk Agreement or Protocol. You remember? So now if you see, currently there are two Minsk agreements. One is Minsk 1 and Minsk 2. They're named after the Belarusian capital Minsk, where the talks were held. So the peace talks were held now. So that is why the agreement is called as Minsk talk, basically to establish peace between Ukraine, Russia and all. Take care. So now what is Minsk 1? Here in the year 2014, it was written by a trilateral contact group on Ukraine, that is Ukraine, Russia and the OSCE, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. And the mediators were France and Germany in the so-called Normandy format. Thus to make sure that the peace has been happening between these two countries and no war and fight was going on. And under the Minsk 1 agreement to prevent this war and for peace talk, Ukraine and the Russia-backed rebels, they agreed on a 12-point ceasefire deal. And in this 12-point ceasefire deal, Russia and Ukraine agreed that, chalo, the prisoner exchange, delivery of humanitarian assistance, withdrawal of heavy weapons, no fight among each other, no attack among each other, all these things were agreed. But be it Russia, be it Ukraine, even Ukraine is not that good, okay? The fact that, see, today Ukraine doesn't have a proper military support doesn't mean that Ukraine is a sufferer. When the Minsk agreement was there, both Ukraine and Russia, they violated the so-called Minsk peace agreement. So what happened? The agreement Fatafat did not even last at all. They said there should be withdrawal of heavy weapons. Neither Russia nor Ukraine listened to it. They said there should be a proper humanitarian help and assistance. That was also not happening. There should be a prisoner exchange. That again did not even happen for a 0.1%. So automatically what happened? Such kind of peace agreement called as Minsk agreement between Russia and Ukraine did not work well. So it kind of collapsed. Now again, as another effort in the year 2015, another peace agreement called as Minsk agreement was put forward. Since the rebels moved further into Ukraine and the Russians wanted to capture Ukraine, in February 2015, some representatives of Russia, Ukraine, the OSCE and leaders of the Donetsk and Luhansk region, they again went for an agreement. Previously, it was a 12-point ceasefire deal agreement. Now it was a 13-point agreement called as Minsk 2 Peaceful Accord agreement. Now here they said that they have to withdraw the use of heavy weapons. They have to have a proper monitoring, and there should be a peace between, Russia and Ukraine in the context that they're not violating each other's law. But what happened, guys? That also led to a failure, I can tell you, in the context that they had some few, provisions related to acknowledgement of special status by parliament, then pardon and amnesty for prisoners, etc., etc. But whatever, the Minsk agreement, 1 or 2, could not be a successful one, because whatever provisions was discussed have not been implemented. That is why the Minsk 1 and 2 agreement is called as Minsk conundrum, because it is not worked out. The meaning of that is Ukraine and Russia have contradictory interpretations about the agreement. See, though it is a peace agreement, though it's an agreement which is benefiting both Ukraine and Russia, both Ukraine and Russia say that, come on, this agreement has its own flaws. It is not benefiting us. It is only benefiting them, and vice versa. You got the point? So due to which it became a failure, and the Minsk 1 and 2 agreement is called as Minsk conundrum. Clear? Now, this is basically for you to know what is Normandy format. That is in the Minsk 1 agreement. I told you now there was something called as, Normandy format for the peace between Ukraine and Russia. Germany, France, and all came in mediation, and they made a format called as Normandy format. What is that all about? It is nothing but a diplomatic grouping which was created way back in the year 2014. So then they'll be able to find a peaceful resolution or solutions for all the issues with regard or conflict in Ukraine because of Russia's military aggression. but that also failed. Okay, and this is a very, very informal forum only, and that was set up by countries like France, Germany, Russia, and Ukraine to establish peaceful ties. But what happened? No Normandy, no any other Monday was there, because both the countries violated the rules and regulations. So what happens? So now the so-called Normandy landings, now they take the name in the from the Normandy landing in the Second World War. Clear? Now, let me quickly take you to the next important topic of the day, that is the live updates. As I promised you people, till 4 p.m. today of the 25th February, the live 2022, the live updates of the crisis between Russia and Ukraine. If you see, Russia said its first day of the Ukraine invasion had achieved all its goal. And you know what they do? They even said that they had destroyed 83 land-based Ukraine targets. And if you see, according to some official reports that was brought out, Russia carried out 203 attacks, guys, on its western neighbors since the beginning of the war with regard to invasion of Ukraine by Russia. That is, they want to invade it, so they're doing all these things seriously. And now, do you think Ukraine will keep quiet? Though Ukraine has a weak or a less military power, also Ukraine forces battled Russian invaders on 3 sides on various days after the Moscow rebels mounted an assault by land, sea, water and all. They had a land war fight, by sea also they fought, by air also they fought. You understand? So this is the biggest attack on a European state since the Second World War. This is very, very serious, guys, because after the Second World War, in a European state, such kind of attack by land, sea and air has not taken place. So they say that after the Second World War, this is the biggest attack. So now, do you think the crisis, or let's say the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, is leading to a third world war? The reason why people are questioning whether there's a third world war is because of this. Clear? Did you understand, all of you? And because the attack given by Russia is triggering the Western warnings of all the unpredicted sanctions against Russia as NATO, EU and G7 leaders, because they all condemned the invasion and they vowed to hold Moscow accountable. They have to be accountable for this, but then they're saying, no, we will invade it. So this is the thing that is happening. So now, from the current point of view, we feel, come on, Russia is doing literally too much. Don't you think so? Yes, we are also feeling it. Because the civilians, forget about Ukraine, yeah, the civilians are the common people who does not even do anything. They have been affected. Because of the political stuff, the poor people have been affected. What did they do? You tell me. What did they do? Is it their mistake to be a citizen of that particular country? You understand? Such kind of things are really aggravating the issue, guys. So you could see so many, wars, so many, protests and all going on. Putin, get out of Ukraine. This is what the people of Ukraine has said. Sanction Putin's dirty money. That is, they say you give whatever and make sure that they get out of that particular place. This is the thing that they said. You can see the kind of destruction they're using. How many buildings, how many people. Oh my goodness, this war is actually causing a huge threat to the poor people or the common masses of Ukraine actually. See, Ukraine is also fighting back, but they have a weak military power due to which they cannot even think of attacking the Russian people out there. And Russia should understand that 70% of the Russian-speaking people is also put up in a part of Ukraine. They're even causing destruction to them also. So they're actually destroying their own people. Don't you think so? So it's kind of paving way for the World War III, because every other country will also be part of it very soon. So that shouldn't be the case. We should not encourage it. You understand? That is what this topic is trying to tell you. You can see on the brink what is happening. It is said that Putin has been accused, Vladimir Putin now of Russia, he has been accused of trying to provoke Ukraine. And that act as a fear loom of Russian invasion. They feel that they'll be soon invaded by Russia, just like what happened in Afghanistan and Taliban. Taliban occupied Afghanistan. Like that, now Ukraine is fearing. You understand? At the same time, Putin is feared to be amassing 100 battalion tactical groups for war with Ukraine also. That is also happening as in one side. Clear? You can see Russia and Ukraine soldiers, tanks, aircraft, warship, nuke and all. If you see Ukraine, it's only around, 2,55,000 soldiers, whereas Russia means 1 million they have. Look at the tank, it's only around 2,400, whereas Russia has 13,000. Only 285 aircraft and 25 warship Ukraine has. But you see Russia, double and triple they have. 4,000 aircraft and 600 plus warship, and nukes zero Ukraine has, whereas Russia has 6,400. Oh my goodness, which means the military power of Russia is 10 times stronger than Ukraine. So definitely Ukraine cannot fight back that much. So they need the help of other countries, be it US, be it Japan, Australia, whatever it is. And that is what Russia cannot tolerate as well. The NATO shouldn't be signed by Ukraine, because Russia very well knows that in spite of Russia having so much of strength also, so much of strength also. If Ukraine becomes part of NATO, come on, the things will take a huge toll, and World War III will be like anything, where no peace, no prosperity at all will happen in the entire world economy. Clear? So now you tell me what could be the way forward. So now in a very, very diplomatic way, as a UPSC CSE aspirant, what do you think? Or as an Indian citizen, taking into consideration the particular issue from every single nook and corner, with having a background understanding of the topic and every other important points, what do you think could be a big solution for this? Because for us, preventing war is the number one criteria, no doubt in that. Right, because it's not just between Russia and Ukraine, rather between the entire countries, I can tell you. So what you could do, guys? Here we go, the way forward. Point number one. So now a practical solution or a occasional solution I can tell you for the issues of conflict between Russia and Ukraine will be what? To revive the Minsk peace process. Already since 2014, you have the Minsk peace process. Every now and then, because both the countries, be it Russia and Ukraine, they violated, it couldn't go up properly. So now let us revive the Minsk peace process. Therefore, the West, which consists of US and other Western countries, they should also push both sides, be it Russia and Ukraine, to resume talks, peace talks. Okay, yes, very good team, Emao, like a peaceful standard talk, and live up to their commitments. They should not violate, like withdrawal of heavy weapons, or let's say giving humanitarian support, or let's say present exchange thing what we discuss. All these they should follow it, and they should not violate, because that is what the Minsk Agreement is all about. So if they are able to live up to their commitments of as what has been discussed in the Minsk Agreement, that is Russia and Ukraine, then they'll be able to restore what, or relative peace on the border. So such kind of war will not happen. And now, though the Minsk Agreement is far from ideal, I can also tell you that it could be a baseline from which a diplomatic solution to a current crisis could be found. And reviving it could be the only path, because peace has to be built. X, Y, Z, it has to be built. And that is what even the French president, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, has said. Otherwise, come on, it is not going to be a small issue. It's going to be a heated up issue for the entire globe. We cannot even think of another World War III, guys. That cannot be the case. You understand? And thus, another way forward is for Ukraine. They say that it could help it gain control over its border. And they can also end the threat of Russian invasions for the time being. They can do that. For Ukraine, they can do, the reason why they go for the Minsk Agreement is, if that has been done, now Ukraine is under a big threat. So now, if they're able to come up with the Minsk Agreement and follow that properly, live up to the commitments of that particular peaceful agreement, then Ukraine can have a great control over the borders, and they can, reduce, or let's say end all these threats given by Russia with regard to invading them for the current time being. Whereas for Russia, what is the thing? For Ukraine, this is the thing. Whereas for Russia, who wants to invade them, it could be a way to ensure that, chalo, Ukraine will never be a part of NATO. See, the problem with Russia is what you know. They don't want Ukraine to be a part of NATO. But Ukraine is a sovereign country, so they do have a right. But Russia is saying no. Because Russia is fearing that US entry will cause a lot of issue against them through Ukraine. Because Ukraine, the importance of Ukraine to Russia is too much. Be it for trade, be it for oil supply, be it for manufacturing hub, be it for whatever it is. So they're not ready to be a part of it. And Russia also cannot be a part of NATO, for the fact that they don't have good ties with US for various reasons. You understand? So if Ukraine is able to, gain control over the borders by following the Minsk Agreement for the time being, it will also give a kind of a solution for Russia that as of now, okay, Ukraine will not join NATO. This is what Russia wants. It's a demand of Russia. And thus, they will also be able to ensure that Russian language and culture, they are being protected. I repeat, Russian language and culture, they are being protected under a new federal constitution. Where? In Ukraine. So for the time being, I can tell you that this is a peaceful approach, or let's say this is something that you can, do to bring the heatness, or let's say the fire of the issue to a lower level. To keep the issue in a low profile, this is what we can do. Clear? Yes, Ashutosh, what is the talks between Ukraine and Russia, and both countries should not be misled by any other country like USA? Yeah, that is very true, Ashutosh. I totally agree with what you said. That is what I said. Now, if the Minsk Agreement is there, even US is telling that. See, even US is telling that, okay, you go for that. But US is very smart. They know that Russia is not going to listen. Neither Ukraine is not going to listen. Even if Ukraine is listening also, they will trigger them. Come on, come and join us. Come and join us. Like how China is triggering Pakistan. Pakistan will say, we have no issues with India. It is a Cold War. But nicely, China will do all the underground to help to Pakistan. And Pakistan will do what? They will nicely come and, support China and go against India. You understand? So similar way, all these gimmicks will happen, no doubt in that. But as of now, we want the issue to come down. The heatness of the issue should come down. For that, this is the one such solution. Did you understand, all of you? Yes? So in a very, very diplomatic way, in the both perspective, Russia, Ukraine, even the US perspective, in the India perspective, the implications sab kuch be discussed. So I think a complete 360-degree coverage has been, drilled into your brains. So that's all, my young officers. Thank you so much. So before leaving the class, don't forget to like the video, put your valuable feedbacks in the comment box, and once the live streaming is done, do put out the topics that you all want for the coming days. So as per your request, really, today I came with the so-called topic, that is Russia-Ukraine conflict. With that, so many, various hidden agendas and points could be revealed. And I hope it has been a full-fledged session with regard to the UPSC preparation as a whole. So yes, how did you feel? Did you enjoy the session? This way of analyzing the conflict between Russia and Ukraine from the international relations perspective. Yes? So yes, any doubts, any queries that you guys have, please feel free to put it forward. Yes, all of you. Perfect. So which are the other topics that you all want, guys? And tomorrow I'll be doing delimitation of JNK, and there is also a topic with regard to India-UAK relation and summit recently. You tell me, do you want India-UAK relation perspective or delimitation of JNK or food processing? There's another current affair that has come up. So do put forward your feedback, which topic you want tomorrow for the early morning 6 a.m. class. So accordingly, I'll prepare and come for you all. Clear? And also, I also request all of you to keep sharing this video link to as many friends as possible, or let's say to as many groups as possible. So let people get to have a clear-cut understanding in a quick, short, sweet, and 360-degree manner with regard to the burning topic of the town, that is Russia-Ukraine conflict and the real agendas behind it. Clear? Is it very clear, all of you? Perfect. So yes, thank you so much, my young officers. I'll see you all soon tomorrow early morning 6 a.m. with the current topics in news class. And don't forget to like, comment, and put your valuable feedbacks in the comment box with this particular video. So stay tuned for more updates. Take care. Thank you and Jai Hind.